First round of the series, but this is the second race. 250 kilometres, 33 starters. Of course, Stephen Ellery unable to make it. And 78 laps of this circuit. And there are the pit windows. And we saw a variety of strategies yesterday. And as Garth Tander discussed a little earlier on the grid, fuel consumption is also an issue. There's a variety in that as well, as we welcome Neil Crompton and Lee Diffie.
Well, if you were with us yesterday, thanks very much, Billy. If you were with us yesterday, folks, you'll remember we spoke about a hot topic. We're going to get to that in a moment again, but for those of you just joining us today, let me remind you that obviously we all have an opinion. You have one as well, and KFC's Zinger, the official burger of V8 Supercars, is giving you the chance to have your say on any hot topic in V8 Supercar racing and join us, the Men of Motorsport, lunch in December in Sydney. To lodge your Zinger hot topic, go on to RPMlive.tv, I should say. Click on the Zinger Hot Topics button and lodge what you want us to discuss on air. And from all the entries, we'll choose a hot topic to discuss each round. And if we choose yours, you've won a trip to Sydney to attend that lunch with us, the 10 commentary team. And today's hot topic is, and yesterday's for the whole weekend, that matter, the abolishment of the morning warm-up. Neil, your thoughts as we get prepared for the Start Your Engines.
Gentlemen, please start your engines.
Simon Gerard, the Executive General Manager of Clipsal Australia.
Just going back to address that question of yours, Lee, about the warm-up. There's been a lot of chat about that topic this weekend, so it's a good one for us to launch our promotion with Zinger this weekend. No warm-up session. How do you feel about it? From a fan's perspective, what's your feedback? From the team's perspective, certainly a lot of people moaning and groaning about it, and there's certainly a safety issue to be raised there. Yesterday, Mark Scaife, for example, was a guy that had crashed a car on the previous day. It would have been nice to run that car, ensure that the systems were right and ready for competition. There he is. And you can multiply that today. Typically in this motor race, a lot of cars get knocked around. The standard procedure normally is to check the cars after the rebuild and ensure that they're working. He's got a lot of work to do today, that man, Mark Scaife, at the back of the field, rear of grid. He's got plenty of mates too. Alex Davison's back there, Jason Bargwanna, Craig Baird, I believe, should be back there, but we'll start from pit lane. Max Wilson, they had terrible electrical problems with the Tony Longhurst Racing and Team Dynamic entries. Both cars having an electrical problem within 2 laps of each other, so clearly whatever that sparky issue is, it has something to do with heat. Much hotter here than at the Grand Prix, hotter than any recent previous test day. You must have a heat soak issue that is stopping the cars. They hope they've rectified it today. Greg Ritter's also at the rear of grid, together with Matthew White. Field underway for the sighting or warm-up lap.
The next time we see them released, it's for real. Part 2 of the Clipsal 500. Leg 1, Marcus Ambrose, the reigning champion, was victorious. As we take a look at the Talon Tough Tools, keep your eyes out for Glenn Seaton, Paul Wheel and Jamie Whincup. They were the 3 biggest movers in the field, and we've just spoken about Mark Scaife starting at the back of the pack, particularly here at Adelaide. Neil, how difficult is that?
It's really hard work. This is a very tough track, even if you happen to be running around on your own, let alone in traffic. When you're in the traffic and there's a ton of cars in front of you, the temperature rises dramatically inside the cockpit. And if you've got someone gnawing away at the back of the car, it's easy to go out of rhythm. Particularly interesting to focus on various strategies in this race, where some people changed their 2 tyres down the side of the car, others changed tyres across the back of the car. That can also have a balance impact on the way the car behaves and performs. When you're buried in the traffic and you've made a balance change to the car by running varying sets of tyres that are at that stage different pressures and temperatures, you're even more susceptible to mistakes. And of course, as you've all seen this weekend and in years previous with the Clipsal 500, if you make a mistake here, you're going to be very lucky to get away with it and not end up whacking the wall. In the background behind the Talon Tools Tough Grid there, we had shots of turn 8, and that's been an area of controversy in recent years. Some drivers have clipped the inside wall, others have got out of shape like Jason Bargwanna yesterday and whacked the wall on the outside, to the extent that if you weren't with us in our coverage yesterday, one of those concrete blocks, which is nearly 4.5 tonnes, was moved the best part of 18 inches with the impact of that car when he got out of shape. And there is Jason Bargwanna, massive rebuild. We've detailed earlier in the telecast how much work has gone into preparing that car to get it on the starting grid today, and together with Craig Baird, I'll start from pit lane. The air temperature, I understand, 29 degrees, so very similar conditions to yesterday's race. And I have to say, since we came to Adelaide in the midweek, the weather here has been absolutely outstanding all week. Probably not ideal inside a race car, but fantastic for everybody that adorns the circuit.
It has been picture perfect. The crowd has been amazing. Record numbers each and every day. And many people just talking with the fans out in the paddock. And in fact, a lot of the team members saying that was a terrific V8 supercar race yesterday. We thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a little bit of everything. There was crashes, there was good battles.
Stephen Richards is not one-eyed. What he's doing is, well, he might be one-eyed, but what he's actually doing is aligning the car to a mark on the grid wall to make sure that he takes up his millimetre perfect starting position.
Russell Ingall has the inside run into turn 1. You're on board with the pole man for this race, Marcus Ambrose, the victor yesterday. But look, there is the enforcer to the right-hand side. Russell Ingall has been very public in his ambition, his desire to beat his teammate, not only in this race, but the entire series and the championship. As Mark Skaife rolls into position right at the back of this field. He's come from last to first before here. Can he do it again today? Up against the Stone Brothers gang, it'll be a tough task. His teammate came through from 15th. The revs rise. Set for part 2 of Adelaide. The Clipsal 500 is alive. Leg 2 away, and Ingall gets away. He moves over on his teammate, but up the inside comes Stephen Johnson with a blinding start.
Another great start, though, from Ambrose. Stephen Johnson. Oh, trouble for Lowndes. Lowndes is in the wall at turn 2. The engine appears to be still running. He'll flick spin it and get on with it, hopefully without too much damage.
Wow. Big move as Steve Johnson came up the inside. Did Lowndes get served up? Was he helped? We'll have to have a look at the Zinger replay.
Just goes to show how quickly everything can change in this business. Oh, Garth Tander up the inside of Glenn Seaton. Couldn't make the move stick. Nervous times for this field on stone-cold tyres. Tander ideally positioned as they make the run down to 8. I think he's going to have him here.
Paul Wheel not wasting any time as Tander executes the move through turn 8. Now look at Wheel to the right of your screen. He lines up. Ingall tries a move on Johnson, not close enough. And both West Point Fords right in this battle. Todd Kelly, good start too.
For Steve Johnson, excellent. Here's the replay from the cherry picker high angle, and you can see that Russell pulled a lot of lock on early and almost drove into the side of Marcus. That allowed Steve Johnson to go straight down the inside, look further back. Contact between the Castrol car of Stephen Richards and Craig Lowndes. Lowndes into the wall, a light brush there. He's on board with Craig. Driver's eye view.
How difficult is it to keep your composure? Look at this, Ingall on the inside of Johnson. Johnson lets him through. Didn't argue too hard over that one. Ingall had more speed into the corner, but his teammate has already escaped.
It was an odd start from Russell because from the minute he dropped the clutch, he was turning to the right. Obviously had position 1 in mind at the first corner, but in doing so, he just gave Marcus a margin and he's disappeared down the road now, and it's taken him a couple of laps to undo all that. Now he's giving away the last time they went across the start-finish line 1 second to his teammate. That'll take a while to whittle away. Greg.
Neil Roland Dane, the team boss at Better Electrical 888, just watched that replay involving his driver, Craig Lowndes, a moment ago. He shook his head with the outcome. Not angry with Lowndes, but I think the way that the whole matter unfolded. Craig has been on the radio just to say that there is some smoke coming from the right rear inside the cabin on certain corners of this circuit.
At least he brushed up against the tyre wall. Campbell Little talking there on the right of our screen to Roland Dane, the team owner you just mentioned, Greg. And they'll monitor that carefully. They'll need to get reports from Craig as to whether the car's behaving itself and just how bad that guard's rubbing on the tyres. But it did meet the tyre wall side to side, so hopefully damage is limited for Craig Lowndes. You can see it there. Doesn't look too bad. It's actually the rear bumper that I think is actually making contact rather than the guard.
For the HRT fans, your man Mark Skaife has come from the back of the pack to 23rd. Good progress early on, but it's a long day ahead.
24-1 for Marcus Ambrose, and that margin as now Lowndes up the inside of Craig Baird is 2.1 seconds on the last lap, so he put 1.1 seconds on Russell Ingall in one lap alone.
Todd Kelly well placed in fourth, starting to hone in on Stephen Johnson. It was a terrific start from Kelly, eighth on the grid and pounced early. Watch this. Does he have enough here? He's not close enough to Johnson just yet. Richards in behind, Murphy in behind him in the Super Cheap Auto Racing Commodore. They've settled somewhat now, Neil, but it was a frantic start. And Johnson's in a similar scenario, in a similar situation to yesterday, where he's defending a lot. Murphy late on the brakes into the final turn. And he has some space behind him back to Garth Tander. Paul Wheel elevates himself 3 positions in the first couple of laps, from 11th to 8th. Seaton is 9th, and Paul Dumbrell breaks into the top 10, pushing Jamie Whincup back.
.23.4 for Marcus. 2.6 seconds the margin now. Ambrose to teammate Ingall. Then Johnson, Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards, Greg Murphy, Garth Tander, Paul Wheel, Glenn Seaton 9, Paul Dumbrell 10, Whincup, Morris, Kelly, that is Rick, David Bernard, Jason Richards, John Bowe, Brad Jones. They've slipped down the order a little. Then Jason Bright, Cam McConville is in 19th position.
And here is your race leader, Marcus Ambrose, doing it comfortably. Look at that. There's his teammate Russell Ingall in the Caltex Ford behind him. And then here's where the pressure situation grows. Johnson in the West Point Ford. In the middle of that controversy yesterday, the $30,000 fine being handed to the team. But it hasn't affected his confidence and focus right now. We go on board with the man who was involved in the Lowndes incident, Stephen Richards.
Very interested to see the lap speed for Ambrose on this lap, and whether he's continuing to open up the margin on Ingall. On board with Stephen Richards here, and 23.1 for Ambrose. I reckon that's, in fact, that is a new lap record. He's gone quicker than Mark Scaife did late yesterday, and the margin's out to 3 seconds. Ambrose is hustling that car. Greg?
Neil, I can tell you that the Castrol Perkins crew have already been on the radio to Stephen Richards, and they've told him, in their opinion, the matter has already been reviewed and Stephen is in the clear. That's the view from Castrol Perkins.
Keep an eye on the HRT car of Mark Scaife. They were mentioning earlier it may come in early if he doesn't get clear track. You look at Ambrose's time there compared to Scaife. It's quite a different lap time. He may look for some clear space and come in early.
And the pit lane access window opens at the end of this lap, and I think you'll find several people peel in pretty quickly. Scaife was expected, as you suggested then, Darryl, to come in and get that out of the way and hopefully get some clear air running. He's got a quick car. If he's tangled in traffic, that advantage will whittle away very quickly. That's a very good time for Ambrose, 23.1 early in this race. Problems here for a bunch of cars down at turn 9. Alex Davison coming off second best, car number 7.
He's been in the wars this weekend, hasn't he? In the Autobahn Commodore. Contact here with Craig Baird.
Bit awkward, really. He's tripped over the front left of the WPS car because with right lock extended, the wheel was hanging out of the guard, and it was an awkward, very slow spin. Look at that fastest lap time for Ambrose, 23.1.359.
He's gone faster again.
Unbelievable.
It was 1.8 on the last lap, 123.18. He's gone quicker again.
There was that shot a couple of moments ago, and you picked up a comment there, Lee, and you said, look at him just sprinting away. And at that point through turn 8, the car was right on the very nervous edge in the rear. It was almost into a slightly uncomfortable oversteer. And so he's got that car very delicately balanced and set up.
Speaking with Greg Murphy this morning, who's fourth car in this shot, right there in the Super Cheap Auto Racing Commodore. Greg said, I did the best I could yesterday. I wasn't overjoyed, I wasn't thrilled. He said, I couldn't really attack, I just had to defend where I knew I could and stay out there and stay out of trouble. He did have that spin after a slight contact from behind from Cameron McConville. McConville later apologised, by the way. They're good friends. And Murphy hung in there for the remainder of the day.
This is Mark Scaife, turn 8. Scaife is still outside the top 20. Last time I looked, he was about 21st. Very hard to thread your way through this pack. even if you've got tons of speed. He's actually 20th now. His best lap's at 24.6. How's that? He did the lap record yesterday in a low 23. He's a second and a half slower while he's all bottled up here at present. He's in behind McConville, and just in front of them it's Jason Bright as cars now begin to come into pit lane.
Pit window is open. Paul Dumbrell is the first to take advantage of that. Good run yesterday for Paul Dumbrell, actually. Finished in 16th position, so it was a solid run. They're fighting over some real estate there. There's a Scaife is in.
40 kilometres an hour, electronically limited in the pit lane, low percentage throttle, something like 15% or less. If you hustle the throttle too hard,
Right, go, you're on.
The cars protest, the engine pops and bangs. It's too much fuel forced into the engine, and away goes Dumbrell. Scaife is next in the queue. And the green CPS light off was the command from Rob Starr. So the green light, as Greg detailed earlier in the telecast, will now be switched off when you've done your tyre stop, leaving the orange light illuminated for the compulsory fuel stop. Greg.
It's a good rehearsal, Neil, as far as the Castrol Perkins crew are concerned. 3.94 seconds was the stop for Paul Dumbrell. They just did the rear tyres at the same time. Alex Davison came in after that contact with Craig Baird. They had a quick look at it, threw some new rear tyres at it. Davison back out on the circuit.
Craig Lowndes came in a flurry of activity, gentlemen. There was nothing actually done to the car. They changed his two back rear wheels. He had some enormous panel damage down the side of the car, but he reported the car was going well.
So that means they've just taken the compulsory tyre stop, and they didn't have to delay the stop with any rectification work, which is good news. They may have just quickly yanked that guard off. Oh, trouble here for the super cheap auto racing car of Murphy. What's gone on here? Smoke at the rear. Did he whack the wall? This is on the braking approach to turn 4, Wakefield Street. Does Murph speak on the radio?
Gearbox is let go. Yeah, gotcha, mate.
Could see our first full course caution here. Murphy's in a rather precarious position, and it's day done for the Kiwi. Oh, Tratt's gone around at turn 11.
And this may trigger a safety car if Anthony's not able to engage reverse. There goes Ambrose, the race leader.
Just pull 6 gear.
Oh, so close, goodness me. The double yellows are being waved and drivers are not respecting them down there. Look at this.
Diving for the pits, and Kelly's overshot it. Kelly has missed pit in.
Look at that. They've screamed for him to come in. He wasn't ready for it. He was off the race line. Tim Schenker, the race director. Behind him was Peter Wallerman, the investigating and prosecution officer, as Stephen Johnson comes in. Probably a late call for Todd Kelly, or often what happens, Lee, is radio interference makes it difficult to establish good communications around the back here because of the number of structures on the circuit. I believe the safety car boards have been deployed. We've gone full course yellow as predicted, and that will trigger a flurry of activity into the pit lane. And those that got it done early will be rewarded.
Kelly will lose a heap of track position. Greg.
Lee, I can tell you it was a 4-second stop neat for Stephen Richards. They threw some rear tyres at it. He fired in nice and early. Kelly eventually found his way into pit lane. Both the Ford Performance Racing Falcons came in nose to tail. Bright for service first. Ritter completing his now.
Look at the activity down there.
Serious traffic jam, isn't it?
Wow.
Generally speaking, although not always, the Sunday race is often a little calmer than the Saturday race. And we've got a fire issue, I think, here. The marshals have been on the job down there as Anthony Tratt steps out. Here comes Marcus Ambrose. He's making the compulsory tyre stop late in the sequence, Darryl.
It's interesting, Neil, both these cars yesterday took on 4 tyres, but today they've just gone for the 2 rears. So that's interesting strategy from Stone Brothers.
Finally, Todd Kelly now gets service after missing.
Go.
Ingles in just in front of him. Massive lock-up, trying to make it fit in a lap ago and missed out.
Todd's actually probably doesn't realise it yet, but lucky that he didn't get into pit lane, because had he committed to getting in the pit lane and been able to do it, which momentum dictated that he couldn't, he would have been penalised for illegal entry into the lane. You're not allowed to cross those control lines that are out there on the approach, so he accidentally did himself a favour by just sliding through and continuing that lap. And they, in fact, may still look at that carefully and decide that that was a reckless move.
Paul Morris in the Cirame Wines car service. There is the stranded Super Cheap Auto Commodore of Greg Murphy, and you heard it. We're on board with Greg, and he said the gearbox is gone, and it's day done. Great top 10 result for Murphy yesterday in 6th, but it's all over in leg 2. This could tell us more about the Anthony Tratt situation.
The car arrived sideways and it was tangled up with one of the Aucon Racing Fords for some reason. And fairly innocent spin, but then Anthony ended up on the other side of the road, parked up against the wall, so maybe he wasn't able to complete the turn, and then the engine has stalled. They maybe had that heat-soaked drama with the fire. Maybe can shed some light for us.
Neil, I can tell you he was endeavouring to try and find reverse gear. I've just walked out of the toll garage and the crew up there were telling me he couldn't get reverse. And I believe while the car was still sitting there and nice and hot, there may have been a brake fire of some kind.
I just should explain that getting reverse should, when you're sitting at home, sound like a simple thing to do, but it's not necessarily. With the car in the neutral gear shift position, you've got to pick up the gear lever as though you were plucking it out of the top of the gearbox area, push it away from you towards the passenger side, and then push it forward towards the firewall. And sometimes you need to rock the car in order to be able to do that. Often when you're having problems with it, you're better to shut the engine down, put it in gear, and then restart it and launch it back out. We shall go to a break. The Marshal's still attending car number 75, and we'll be back with the continuation of the Clipsal 500.
Now, you won't be seeing that dash for the remainder of the day because Murph has, of course, that gearbox failure. So it's HSV. Shouldn't be too hard to remember. You can SMS it as many times as you like to these numbers. If you're in Australia, 1977 5151, or in New Zealand, it is normally 8844, but it doesn't matter because New Zealand is unable to enter today. They will have other opportunities at other times. There's a host of great prizes, including a workshop tour of Super Cheap Auto Racing, dinner with Greg Murphy and Paul Wheel, and more.
Safety car lights are out, so next time across the control line on the start-finish straight, we will go racing
car
once again.
51 is at turn 4. It's off the track up at turn 4 with a recovery vehicle.
Voice of the race director, Tim Schenken. They've taken Greg Murphy's Super Cheap Auto Racing Commodore up to the end of Wakefield Street, parked it out of harm's way, try and get back to racing as quickly as we can, Greg.
I can tell you that there's been some frantic activity here at PWR and some arguments going on with officials at the moment. They were hoping that they could get this car dropped to the back of pit lane. They calculate it will take 25 minutes to change the gearbox in Murphy's car, and they want to get him back out there and at least try and get him classified a finisher. Race back underway.
Green flag, and we go racing again. Now, an interesting strategy by Tasman Motorsport, the Dodo Racing Inner Circle Rum entry. Jason Richards, Wally Story, the chief engineer there. We saw him just prior to the race start at the back of their bunker on strategy. Wally has determined that he doesn't want to take the compulsory tyre stop at this point, and in leaving Jason out there, they've vaulted him up to second position. He's got reasonable car speed. Oh, Russell Ingall thinking about it. Dangerous move early in the race. He needs to be a little more patient on cold tyres. Patience is not a word that goes hand in hand with race drivers sometimes. And Ingall there fighting hard across the top of the ripple strip, and you can see how much ground he lost by being mispositioned up at turn 6.
And another car going on the same strategy as the Wow Sight and Sound, the Tony Longhurst Racing entry, Max Wilson, who's 4th, but he's in the same boat. Look at this big move by Richards down the inside. Couldn't quite get there. Kelly's lining up. So too is Steve Johnson. So Wilson is yet to pit, and he sits 4th. Another safety car period comes out. He and Jason Richards are looking good.
Only 3 cars in this field have not taken that compulsory stop. And by playing the game as they have, they're all up near the sharp end now. Ambrose, Jason Richards, Russell Ingall, Max Wilson, Steve Richards, Todd Kelly, Stephen Johnson, Garth Tander, Paul Dumbrell and Glenn Seaton. That is the top 10. The margin at the control line, 1.1 seconds. Ambrose to Jason Richards. Last lap through for Ambrose was a 24.3, a 24.9 for Jason. It's on here again up at turn 4 as Richards tries to find a way around Wilson, who's in the Tony Longhurst Racing entry. This is a team dynamic car. We were expecting to see Will Davison in the car this weekend. That deal fell apart. Tony has installed the Brazilian into the car. He's doing a great job. He got off to a terrific start in the first practice session on Friday where he was inside the top 10, but they've had an electrical drama all weekend with both their cars. It seems to be a heat soak related problem, and even last night I rang their chief engineer at about 10 o'clock and they were removing the entire wiring loom from the car in order to try and get to the bottom of the problem. I understand that there's been a black flag deployed for Todd Kelly in car 22, and that'll be because of the pit lane infringement trouble. Kelly and Wilson get together. I think Tander's in there as well. Cars scrambling every which way. It's chaotic.
Oh, one of the Dodo Commodores has been nailed in turn 9 as well. Finally, Wilson spins it round.
So Todd Kelly, no doubt,
Lean over the pit wall and check my right front guard.
Jamie Whincup that's in trouble.
he will have copped a penalty for that move earlier where he climbed over the island on the pit lane approach.
And
Just press on. Get your head down, mate. Head down.
it's really on. Look how busy it is. One of the big movers in this pack.
That's a black flag confirmed for Todd Kelly. Matt Crawford's obviously unaware at this point. Garth Tander's HSV dealer team car has that big shark bite out of the front left corner. And there's Jamie Whincup's car number 23 in front splitter damage and probably radiator and brake ducting damage as well.
Look who's coming. Scape's gone from 29th to 9th. He's behind Paul Dumbrell and is powering.
Front or block?
This young man finished 10th yesterday. Superb drive, but how it can all turn around so quickly. Wrong place, wrong time. Now look at this. Scape's trying to pick off another one.
Yeah, he's got
rid of
Tander.
Tander.
Next one for him is Paul Dumbrell. These are positional changes. Oh,
Tander's
Tander's going to hit the wall. Big contact. He couldn't turn the car with the damage on the front left-hand corner and has ploughed it straight into the wall.
Turn 8 bites another one. Garth Tander's day is surely done. Greg.
Well, there was huge cause for panic here before that incident. I can tell you that Rob Crawford had raced in and spoken to Matty Nielsen, the engineer for Garth Tander, and they told him to back it off if he could and to come straight into the lane. He was worried, Rob Crawford, at that stage that the damage to this car would unsettle it going through turn 8. That's exactly what's happened. Their worst fears have been realised.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing for a driver sometimes to back out of it because Garth would want to hustle the thing and get it home. And that damage was the reason for the shunt. I mean, turn 8 will take the blame. The safety car's been deployed, but it's not a turn problem. Drive through for Todd Kelly has now served that.
The Dunlop guys had mentioned that when he stopped for those 4 tyres, they were green tyres. They hadn't even been roaded, so that's probably another thing with not the time in the warm-up.
We've got plenty of time, mate. We'll just have to be a bit smart with the next one and see how we go.
It's Matthew Crawford on the radio to Todd Kelly. It's a replay on board here with Garth Tander smack into the Gillette signage there on the outside of turn number 8 in the HSV dealer team. Car number 16 car. And there it is in the background. And Wills, I think, was just an innocent bystander there at the end.
He was right up hard on him when Garth found out the hard way that that car wasn't about to turn. It's over for the lanky West Australian, but he did get a points result yesterday. Fine finish in 7th. And look at the damage to Andrew Jones, Valvoline Repco Commodore.
And that will keep those blokes amused for a while as well. Splitter damage, front left guard, bonnet, radiator intake. You can see that the air ducts are all damaged, probably brake ducts as well. The front bumper bar support bar is broken. If you just look to the right there, you can see it's split, pushed back and broken in half. They'll have to deal with that.
This caution comes at a nice time for Jason Richards, the Tasman boys and the Dodo Commodore. Scaife and Lowndes obviously both effectively started from the back of the pack. Scaife really did, but Lowndes got turned around in turn 1. And both pitted on lap 7. They're both on a similar strategy. We'll see how that works out for them. We're joined in the 10 commentary box by Super Cheap Auto Racing's Greg Murphy, who unfortunately is out of this race with a gearbox failure. Good day yesterday, Greg. Tough break today.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad yesterday. I wouldn't say it was the best. We were sort of struggling for pace for the guys that were in front, but solid, and we didn't get involved in any incidents. Car was clean, so that was good. And today the car was a lot better. We'd fixed, well, pretty much improved the car through Sector 1 where we were really slow yesterday, and the car was 10 times better today, which was really encouraging. And we're able to sort of stay reasonably close to Repco and the guys ahead. Unfortunately, we've had a massive gearbox failure. I slotted third into the first corner, and I thought I'd missed a gear because it screamed its head off and was going nowhere. So very unusual. I haven't had a gearbox do that before.
How do you catch this guy?
At the moment, I have no idea.
They're in a class of their own, aren't they, in some areas? They've got terrific traction off these second gear corners everywhere, Greg, and particularly coming down here. I noticed early in the weekend, I focused on this car across the traffic islands, and it just leaps the ripple strips beautifully.
You're listening to this in-car stuff too, like Marcus's throttle application on this thing. You'd think it'd be slow.
Yes.
It's just, look at it, just waits and just feeds, and the thing is so straight. It's just phenomenal. You got to give credit where credit's due, and he's definitely in tune with this vehicle.
Yes.
More so than Russell even is. I mean, the Stone Brothers have got this thing going. So good for Marcus.
Good power. It's got good contact with the road.
That's the thing. It's got probably the best horsepower in the game at the moment, but it puts the power down still.
Puts the power down. You don't hear it leaping over the bumps. You don't hear it flaring on any of the bumps. And the point you just made a moment ago, Greg, is a valid one in that the car's always straight. Yeah. Marcus drives the car extremely straight.
Oh, he's just had a moment there, actually.
While we're on here,
Greg, there we go. Just put the mocker on him.
While we're on board with Marcus, we'll take this advantage of having you up here. Talk us around a full lap around the Adelaide circuit. Where you go?
Sure. Well, he's just exited turn 10 in second gear up to third, up to fourth. He holds fourth, which I do. Some guys select fifth, down to second, waiting on the throttle till the car really changes direction and then feeds on the power. That car really gets off that turn better than anything else out there at the moment. He's driving very smooth. Fifth gear down the front straight, then down 2 cogs, down to third. Actually, by the gear selector, it says that he's going through there in fourth. So that's very different to just about everybody else that I know of. Unless he's actually taking it. That thing is really, really smooth at the moment.
Maybe he is, but
unless he's just conserving fuel. Has he done his fuel stop yet?
No, they haven't. No.
Okay, well, he probably doesn't need to conserve fuel now because he's past the window, I'd say. But that looks just too easy actually at the moment.
So Mark Scaife takes his compulsory fuel stop. That's done on lap 34.
And he's complete for the day. Now Lowndes is on a similar strategy. Lowndes has elevated to third, a bit of an anxious moment there.
He didn't want Morris to get past, that's for sure.
And that cost Mark Scaife pretty badly then. He's a good mate of Anthony Tratz.
Morris having a look. And cold tyres, Neil, as we know. And there's Russell Ingall behind him, so he has come out ahead of Russell.
Beautiful work by the Holden Racing team.
That's a big effort. And Morris is for position too.
Anthony Tratt has run wide.
He's given him a freebie there.
And here is Russell Ingall. He'll know that Scaife's got out ahead of him. And ahead of these guys, we'll talk about that in a moment. Here's Greg.
Car 2 took on board 12.9 seconds worth of fuel. Nice clean stop for Scaife, and crucially, guys, no changes to the roll centre. Scaife obviously happy at this stage.
The refuel rate's about 4.5 litres a second, so what did you say it was, Greg? 12.9 seconds, so 12.9, 4.5 litres. They've got, what, 58 odd litres of fuel on board that car at Marks.
Yeah, I was just looking at the lap times there too. Stephen Richards and Marcus Ambrose the same lap time for the last lap, and just looking at that in-car of Marcus, he's probably cruising. He's got a 5-6 second lead. It's hard to believe how effortless he actually is driving that thing.
Made a mistake there.
He did. He locked the brake, got away with it. Cold, just with no warm-up laps, not being able to cycle those tyres, they are cold.
Well, I think he put fuel on then, so it's actually
and it's weighty in the rear.
It's weighty in the rear, so it's unweighty the inside front and a bit of a
bias to the rear.
Change,
Russell Ingall has been able to drive away from Stephen Johnson in the West Point Falcon. There's quite a bit of gap between those guys. As Ingall sits back in 12th, Johnson is 13th. And in the order, Scaife has come back out on the track as we ride with him in 10th. And in position 11, right behind him, Paul Morris.
It's a good shot looking over Mark's shoulder. And Greg, Lee asked you a moment ago if you can describe the lap for us on board Marcus. We might see if we can go back on board with Mark Scaife and let you have a good look and just tell us what it's like to hustle around here.
His 6th gear coming up to turn 8. Off the throttle, dab on the brake. His right foot comes across, straight back on the gas again. It's a key. I mean, we know how important that corner is and how critical it is. Down to 2nd gear, off the throttle, wait for the car to turn, then get back on the throttle, nice and smooth. Mark's got a good balance there by the looks of it at the moment. The car looks to be doing what he wants. 3rd, down to 2nd, through here, waiting, accelerating hard. 3rd, we'll see if he uses 4th or 5th. 4th, and he's a 5th man, so he uses 5th through there, gets off the limiter, using the curb. You see the car bounce off there, bit of steering input, off the throttle or at the hairpin. He's probably sorted out that brake bias problem. 2nd to 3rd, up to 5th gear. Mark's making sure he's getting a lot of fluid on board. It'd be Mr. Starr there, giving him a bit of encouragement over the curbs. And 4th gear for Mark too, actually, so maybe some of the guys, more of the guys using 4th than what I thought. 5th, back down to 2nd. Mark goes straight from 5th to 2nd. Doesn't go down any other gears. 2nd gear all the way through here. Hard on the throttle, then hard on the brake. Off the power, get it to turn. Hard on the gas again. Dive it on the brakes. Off the brake. Get the car to turn. The car looks pretty well balanced, Neil.
It does, doesn't it? One thing I noticed there, Greg, is that Mark's using the clutch for the shifts across the gate, 2nd to 3rd like that one, but he's obviously flat shifting in the straight pull where the gear lever's pulled 3rd to 4th.
Absolutely.
Notice from 4th to 5th again he used the clutch, and then from 5th to 6th he just flat shifts
And that's
again.
what I do too. 2nd to 3rd. Yeah, it's one of those gear shifts that if you do happen to stuff it, she's 1st gear. Yeah. And then she's pulling 9.5, 10 grand on there. Oh, he's run a bit wide there at the hairpin. Very easy to do, I got to say. Down there under brakes, you'd only have to get it slightly wrong on your braking, and he's pulled away from Morris quite clearly too.
Seen a lot of action at the very high-speed turn 8 this weekend. Have you had any moments yourself?
In qualifying, actually, my fastest lap, I touched the wall with my the left rear hub of the car. So that was a bit of a moment, but that's the only moment I've had.
Greg.
The message from Barry Hay to Russell Ingall just a lap ago was be patient, be patient. Paul Morris has not pitted for fuel just yet, and it's paid off. Russell was still eager to get by him to stay in touch with Mark Scaife, obviously, but he wanted him to be mindful that Morris still had another stop to complete.
Race leader Marcus Ambrose is yet to complete his fuel stop. That, we imagine, will be coming up shortly as we're fast approaching the halfway mark. The 2nd leg of the Clipsal 500. Greg Murphy will stick around. We'll have more from Murph in just a moment. Problem for Greg Ritter, not a major one, it's a minor one, but Ritter has performed both of his compulsories and he still has one of his lights on his windscreen. So the team will be alerting Greg Ritter to that. He needs to extinguish both lights once both compulsory stops have been completed. Richards continues. He's 9.9 seconds in arrears of Marcus Ambrose in the Castrol Perkins Commodore, and he continues the tradition and the trend since he's been with Perkins. Every year here at Adelaide in the 2nd race, he's been on the podium.
Round 2 of the FIA World Formula 1 Championship tonight from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur. And you can see the grid rolling through there. Fernando Alonso for Renault, taking Renault's 2nd pole for the year. Jarno Trulli, Toyota, will start alongside him. Australian Grand Prix winner Giancarlo Fisichella is 3rd. Mark Webber 4th in the Williams BMW. Ralph Schumacher from Toyota, so they're 2nd and 5th as we look here at the Valvoline car in for its fuel CPS. Then Kimi Raikkonen, Christian Klein, David Coulthard, so Red Bull going strongly again. Jensen Button, Nick Heidfeld, Montoya, Barrichello and Schumacher 12th and 13th. Further back then for Massa and Davidson standing in for Sato at BAR Honda. Jacques Villeneuve 16th, then Narain Karthikeyan 17th, Thiago Montero 18th.
Oh, Richo's hit the wall.
He has hit the wall big time. We'll come back to the Formula 1 thing. He's given the tyres a huge nudge.
Now, where would that be? Tyres on the right-hand side?
Turn 11, exiting turn 11.
Might be the same place he did yesterday.
Yeah, the same place. 11, you know, we come around in the corporate areas there.
Depends how you count them, Murph, but it would have been perhaps behind the paddock where he did it yesterday. You're looking at me.
Yeah, okay. Well, geez, he's really run wide then if he has, because those tyres are nowhere near where your exit has occurred. So
we've got the replay, the Zinger replay. Take a look at it.
You're absolutely right.
It's turn 11.
Oh, he's gone in way too quick. Overcooked, missed the apex. See the thing understeer. There's no grip there, no grip out there at all. Now let's hope that that's not a no, it's okay. I think, geez, he might have got away. Oh, no, she's tearing the tyre apart there, Neil. Yep.
Oh, no. Same corner as yesterday that Stephen...
There is stuff coming off it.
Oh.
No, he's gone in. Now,
Starting to shred. We have to put a tire on, guys, and help that guard out.
He's got a 4-second gap back to Mark Scaife, but he's going to lose several positions here.
Is that from the tyre on that car, or is it from the tyres that he's rubbed into there, I wonder?
I reckon it was the tyre on the car.
Was it? Yeah, that's very unfortunate. The poor guy, it's twice in 2 days at the very same corner.
You can see the shine on the edge there, Neil. Yeah. I reckon she was starting to
spot on
tear a hole.
Yeah. And you can't afford for the thing to blow here, or you just end up whacking a wall and doing massive damage.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Which puts Scaife into second spot.
We need to give some credit here to his teammate Paul Dumbrell, the young Victorian's 5th. He's completed both of his compulsory pit stops, just recovering from shoulder injury, and this is a very promising start to his 2005 campaign. As Stephen Richards rejoins the field behind Paul Radicic outside the top 10.
I just hope they've got that guard off there enough there, Neil.
There's someone else.
Ritter. Oh!
Jason Richards and Greg Ritter.
Oh, now that is bad luck. Because you've got no chance of avoiding someone when you're that close behind.
He tried to.
Oh,
he almost got away with it.
Very unfortunate for Jason Richards, and I wonder if there's a bit of fluid on the road there, because that's two senior drivers.
Short period of time.
Only takes a little droplet or two, and this will no doubt trigger the safety car. The SC boards are out, and the yellow flags fly.
It's out.
Safety car, it's car 1 is the car we need, is presently at turn 6.
Roger that.
Look at this, here we go.
Is Lounsey right behind him? I think he is.
20
right
laps
behind
to go.
Scaife. So this is going to be all go. I'm really looking forward to the battle for second here, because and Russell's right there too.
Second, third and fourth all in a line, aren't they? Inside, defensive line from Scaife immediately.
Underneath Tratt. Now, whose tyre's going to come up the temperature the best? Oh! Lounsey gets past. He is all over him.
And Anthony Tratt is right in the thick of this. Russell
pushed Russell wide.
Lowndes is working over Scaife.
What's the double back? Is he? Oh, Lowndes. Scaife. Oh, Tratt's in the middle of it.
Andrew Jones, that was him. Look at them go everywhere.
Oh, my God. Here
Todd Kelly, beautiful move.
Four wheels up the inside. Come on, Wheelie.
Gee, there's some silliness going on
here.
There
is some stupid stuff. I think that looked like Stephen Richards has got some more damage. Is that Stephen Richards a bit further back?
Yes, it is.
He has got a massive amount of damage to the front of the car, I reckon.
And look at this, Andrew Jones.
Craig Lowndes and Mark Scaife had a vigorous battle a few years ago where they crisscrossed each other and it ended up with damage. And whenever there's a restart and congestion at the back of the pack, you just bite your nails. You just know there's going to be drama. Look at this. Lowndes on the attack. It's Scaife. We're riding with Mark Scaife. Looking back, he's up on the curb. He's defensive at turn 13. There's that damage on the rear of the Lowndes car. Ingle wants to buy in as well. The margin at the start-finish line for Ambrose this time through 3.9 seconds to Scaife, and Lowndes is running right with him.
Scaife is struggling on the first lap. Look at him using the curb. Lowndes follows through.
Huge motocross jump there from Lowndes as he attacks. Scaife on the defence at turn 4. Can Lowndes crisscross? They did this a couple of years ago.
The former teammates, and since Lowndes defected to Ford, he hasn't had the success he'd had hoped. Maybe it comes today, but while they fight it out, Marcus Ambrose is disappearing on the inside. Lowndes, this is his chance, he's there!
And Russell will go with him. Russell's down the inside, he gets both of them! Look at that! Russell Ingle, 2 and a go. Unbelievable.
Waited, and then pounced. He said, you can fight it out, boys, and I'll take you. So it's back to being a Stone Brothers 1-2.
Lowndes' job's not finished just yet, I don't reckon. Wow, that was very, very exciting.
Oh, Russell's made a mistake. He's run wide, he pinched the rear brakes, and he just gets away with it at turn 9. Nail-biting stuff. Greg.
Guys, I can tell you this is brilliant stuff from Russell Ingle. He is driving with a gearbox problem at the moment. That car 9, is jumping out of second gear. Ingle's got to manhandle it, hold it in second on certain corners. He can't let it out.
And that's the reason why on one of those restarts earlier in the day, he lost some ground. Now Lowndes again.
He's having big trouble off the turns, and that's why he overshot at the hairpin, because he probably was having to hold it in. It's trying to jump out, and it did it again on the last corner as well.
And there are some places around here, many places around here, Greg, as you well know, where you just can't one-hand the car. You won't get enough lock-on with one hand to be able to hold the gear.
Especially at the hairpin now, when you've got full opposite lock-on, it's very hard to do.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that Craig Lowndes, Mark Scaife started this race right in the very back. Scaife on the grid, Lowndes was turned around. Look in the background, here comes Todd Kelly as well.
He's trying the crisscross again. Lowndes has got a bit of car speed here. He's got car speed.
He's going to get past Russell sooner or later, I reckon. And Scaife is struggling a little bit back there too.
And remember that Russell had to use a little bit more of the car earlier in the day. He had to push really hard in the opening laps of the race because of the ground that he lost off the start. He makes a good run through turn 8. He protects himself a little bit under brakes, and Craig stays on the race line proper, doesn't have a nibble in the early part of the braking.
That was better that time. He didn't run wide. See how he settles in. Todd Kelly behind, looks like it's got a bit of damage to the front of it as well.
He's coming though, Greg. He's doing impressive lap times. He may be with these guys in the next couple of laps. Back on board with Scaife. Ambrose is enjoying a 5-second lead. Oh, problems. BOC and Brightech teams.
Brad Jones, car number 25
Steve
is the
Owen.
other car there, Steve Owen.
And Jason Bright in the background there with four fresh tyres.
Scaife's back on the back of Lounsey there. He had a bit of a gap a minute ago. I wonder if he had a go at him into the last turn.
It might be that when the tyres cool out on Mark's car, depending on the pressures he's running, it takes longer to normalise them. They might have run a little more conservatively.
They took half a second out of Marcus Ambrose on that last lap. And look, Kelly is coming, he's coming. 3/4 tenths of a second faster than Mark Scaife on that time.
With these guys all tripping over themselves, Todd will get there pretty quickly, and what a job from him today. There he is, there's the margin. His engineer, Matthew Crawford. He's been a driver counsellor a few times this weekend, calming him down. That was a great stoush yesterday with Glenn Seaton. He's had a day of frustration today with a couple of drive-through penalties that he's recovered from. Matty said on the radio, mate, we can do it. Just be quiet, knuckle down, get the job done. And it's proof positive that you can do it.
More than one person said to me this morning, drive of the day yesterday belonged to Todd Kelly, but he didn't really get the result that he was after. Well, that happened today. Here is the Max Wilson, Brad Jones, Steve Owen, and Mark Winterbottom all in that.
Both the Fujitsu cars.
And that was
a Maxi thing down the inside.
Oh, more trouble here at turn 4. It's Paul Morris and it's Craig Baird mixed in with Jason Bright.
And I think Cam McConville was in that as well.
Someone else was in there for sure. What do we got?
See, it's happy hour here with a few of these guys.
Oh, Russell very loose on turn in there. He made a big mistake going in there, or maybe the gearbox again, I'm not sure, but got very loose, used all of the curb. Lounsey all over the back of him again.
That's given Craig plenty of motivation. This could be the lap he does the crisscross. That's his favourite move. He's right with Russell Ingall now.
Doesn't get any closer. But Lounsey is watching his mirror because Scaife is waiting for the opportunity to come back again, I reckon.
Russell's not an easy person to get by. The enforcer is a tough man. But now this is a great run, a great opportunity for Craig Lowndes. Stone Brothers Ford, not too bad off the corners though.
Surprise, surprise.
Darryl.
This battle's only going to get better. It looks like Todd Kelly there looming up in the background. He may join this battle as we run home. Look at him there in the background.
Oh, no, toddler.
Massive lock-up from Todd Kelly.
It is a big, big lock, that one.
Absolutely going to have flat spots on possibly both those fronts, Greg.
That was pretty serious. And it'll be interesting to see, and it's the outside tyre too. They had the big one, and it's a turn 8 issue, I would say. You've got to be very careful about that. If it's flapping away.
Going to stay here, I've got a left front.
Yeah, there you go.
That was Todd Kelly.
Yep.
15 laps left to run. Leg 2 of the Clipsal 500. Marcus Ambrose leads.
Just conserve the car, pal. You've got a 7-second gap to Dumbrell behind you. 7 seconds.
Now here's the thing, guys, with tyres. Ambrose took on 4 new tyres on lap 9. Scaife took on 2 new tyres on lap 7. Lowndes took on 2 new tyres lap 7, and Ingle took on 4 new tyres lap 9. So both the SBR cars theoretically have got a better tyre scenario,
Well, these
but
guys,
not by much.
These guys are slowing themselves down because Ambrose was 1.2 seconds faster on that last lap.
And he's having problems, we believe, with this second gear. He's locking brakes here and there. We're looking along Wakefield Street. He's locked a brake again into turn 4. Ingle has gone straight ahead up Wakefield Street. He's locked a brake for whatever reason, and there he is stranded.
Wow, major letdown. Frustration overload for Russell Ingle.
And was that the car jumping out of gear, or is there more to the story? You really rely on engine braking around here in concert with your hydraulic braking to help pull you up. Now, and Stephen Richards in car 11 has gone straight ahead at turn 11, right down to the very end of the gravel trap, but not made contact with the wall.
Turn 11 for car 11 this weekend. It has not worked out. 3 separate incidents on that corner for Stephen Richards.
Is he mobile again, or what's happening here? Is he? He's grabbed reverse. Maybe he's getting a bit of assistance from the officials.
You can see the official at the back there, can't you?
The engine is still running, and he's got damage on the front of the car. Maybe he did make contact with the wall down there, or was there some other issue that sent him into the gravel trap? Look at the debris coming off, and they've put a new left front on Russell Ingle's car. He's got it back to the pit lane while Richards was off. Starts are up again. Now the car will be massively out of balance with a fresh front left tyre. The other 3 are hot and used, Greg.
It was a 19-second stop, the standing time, Neil. They actually crucially changed all 4 tyres on this car. They checked it for damage. The word from Barry Hay, Russell's crew chief, is that he was, while struggling with that gearbox problem, he was also nipping at the brakes on occasions, locking them on occasion, and they believe that happening constantly has finally been the cause of that tyre letting go.
Well, I'm glad they put all 4 tyres on there, because that makes the cars very awkward to drive with 1 cold new tyre and 3 hot ones. So at least the car's balanced. But what happens there is when there's a rhythm in the way in which you brake, you apply your hydraulic pressure, you settle the car down at maximum threshold braking, you blip the throttle, synchronise the engine and gearbox speed. In this case, on the way up Wakefield Street from 5th gear back to 2nd gear, if it's jumping out or you can't get it in, all the rhythm goes. You don't get the effect of the engine braking to help slow the car down, and that means that you squeeze the brake pedal too much. It locks the brakes. That may well have damaged the tyre here in Russell's case and flat spotted it right through to the canvas and punctured it.
6.3 seconds the lead margin for Marcus Ambrose over Craig Lowndes. We go back to this scrap, and it's been going on lap after lap. Stephen Johnson right in the thick of it with Matthew White, John Bowe ahead of them. Max Wilson has done a tremendous job, and Jamie Whincup is in this fight also in the 23 machine. Been a tough day for Jamie Whincup. Complete reverse for than yesterday.
Mind you, Max was involved in that incident at the hairpin before. I wouldn't mind betting they'll have a long, hard look at that. Winterbottom in trouble under brakes. Only just gets away with that one as the thing dances in the rear end while he's looking for 2nd gear. And I tell you, that was close.
Brad Jones was the big winner out of that one. Stephen Johnson saw it coming. And look at this, Matthew White. After DNFing yesterday, there's problem for the other BOC car. John Bowe's in strife. Slowing on the inside of the course there. But for Matthew White, for Braytech Motorsport in the Fujitsu car, tremendous effort. Running just outside the top 10 after DNFing yesterday.
That's very disappointing for John Bowe. Damage in the front of that car. Some of the activity back in the pack has been pretty ugly today. You can tell by the amount of scar damage. More problems here for the Fujitsu entry of Steve Owen. Outbrakes himself down there at 9. Stephen Johnson's in there, biffing and barging with them as well.
Forcing the issue, Johnson on Matthew White. And this is earlier, same corner, turn 9. Johnson, Winterbottom and Bright. That's where Winterbottom had the additional damage on the front. Whincup skips through, so too does Brad Jones. So in that one lap, that was a big win for Brad Jones. Several positions gained, and now the Albury-based driver goes up to 13th place. Problems here for the WPS Falcon.
It's David Bernard. Already minus the rear bumper, car number 48. And just trawling around there at the moment, off the race line, which is a good idea to give the guy some space. I tell you, that was very close then between he and Russell Ingall, but Ingall squeezes through okay. That gap diminished to the point where I held my breath for a moment.
Inside the last 10 laps, we go back on board with Craig Lowndes. What a day. After being turned around, not intentionally, by Stephen Richards at the centre chicane, he saw the entire field go by, and now in just 8 laps he will stand on the podium.
He took a couple of tenths of a second away from Marcus Ambrose that lap, but it's not going to be enough at that rate. It's a 6.2 second margin, Ambrose to Lowndes. Scaife 1.5 seconds further back on Lowndes in 3rd position, then Todd Kelly, Paul Dumbrell, Cam McConville. There's the race leader. Paul Radisich 7th. In fact, dropping back now, Paul Wheeler's moved up on him 7th, Paul Radisich 8th, Max Wilson 9th, Rick Kelly 10th, and Matthew White, Jason Bright, Brad Jones, Mark Winterbottom, who'd be blessing himself after that rear brake lockup. Steve Owen, Steve Johnson, Paul Morris, Craig Baird, and John Bauer limping around. Mark.
Stephen Richards is absolutely spent in the Castrol garage. When he went across the gravel track, he put a hole in his radiator. The team are doing everything they can to fix that, to get Stevie back out so he can actually finish the race.
Yes, because finishing equals accruing points, and sometimes you only need a few of them to make a difference at the end of the championship, and points are awarded right back down through the field. You need to be classified, and he well and truly have enough laps to be classified as a finisher. But he's got to be out there in order to take the checkered flag.
We are taking you live and exclusive all the way to the checkered flag, to the end of the Clipsal 500. Super performance from this guy. You have to wonder what Todd Kelly could have done without those pit lane drive-throughs.
And he's limping, remember, at the moment.
7 laps. Have a drink, pal. Have a drink.
Voice of Matthew Crawford. He's limping with a flat spot on that front tyre. You can actually hear it in the background there, pattering on the road as he goes by our camera on the approach to turn 1.
Well done, Paul Dumbrell. Great start to 2005. Yesterday he finished 16th. Today he gets a top 5 finish if he can hang in there for the next 6-7 laps. Darryl.
Jason, it could have been a good result there today. You'd worked your way up through the field. Was it an engine that went?
Yeah, unfortunately, she completely shut down. We're not exactly sure what happened, but oh, look, it's the guys have put in a massive effort. You know, we had the throttle position problem in qualifying. We had the crash yesterday, the engine today. This is definitely not one of our weekends.
Thank you.
I just feel sorry for the guys. They put such an effort in, and they really deserved the result today. And there was definitely a top 10 on the cards there, but that's the way it goes.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
Both of the West Point Dick Johnson Racing entries, cars 17 and 18, I understand, are on 7 cylinders at the moment. We know Glenn had that intermittent problem before. Unusual that both cars have the same issue, and you can hear them in the background occasionally past the commentary point. A sick V8 supercar is very noticeable when it goes by.
And you screw your face up, don't you?
Yeah, I don't like that sound. Not nice.
McConville has rebounded from yesterday, 17th. He's currently sitting 6th with a very damaged Repco Valvoline Cummins Commodore. But this is solid championship points for the Victorian. Greg.
Some real dramas at Team BOC, Lee. It sounds like Brad Jones is on the radio and complaining of a pedal that's gone to the floor, so he's telling the crew to be on standby to fix his braking drama. In the meantime, his stricken teammate John Bow has a fuel pressure issue, and the crew are having real dramas radioing him, trying to diagnose it and maybe finding a way of getting JB back to the garage.
Now, I said yesterday that I found it unusual that, given the experience that many of these senior teams have with these cars, that we're having so many strange little glitches. That often happens when personnel shuffle around and different procedures are observed. You never know what the story is until you're deeply embedded in a team. But there's been a lot of weirdness this weekend with strange unreliability issues, and there's no reason why Brad's brake pedal should be going to the floor. No logical reason, but there'll be one. But it shouldn't be doing that at this point in the motor race.
Super performance from this man, the diminutive Brazilian. Max Wilson started 27th, and now he's hassling Paul Wheel for 7th place. Awesome stuff.
However, I think you'll find he'll be under investigation for that move down at turn 9, and there's obviously brake fluid where it shouldn't be around the front brake caliper and rotor, and they need an extinguisher down there because the oil is burning. So they must have a leak for some reason, an O-ring leak in the caliper, or maybe the bleed nipple on the brake caliper has opened up and it's weeping some fluid out there. And that's the reason why every time Brad puts his foot on the brake pedal, it gets down. You know what? That's the brake bleed nipple that they're tightening. It's cracked open for some reason. That's all. It's just a simple thing. They've tightened it up. Hopefully there's no more to it than that.
Here we go. Wilson on wheel. Through. And Wilson continues this amazing climb up through the field. Greg.
They're telling Brad Jones, or trying to see if Brad Jones can pump it up. The initial assessment, Neil, they think it is a caliper seal.
Okay. Oh, there's more to it then, so they won't be simply fixed by the turn of a spanner. If it's a caliper seal, then they need to just leave that car there, because if he goes out there with oil coming out in the centre of the caliper, he's just inviting disaster. 7.1 seconds is the margin, Ambrose to Lowndes. Then there's a margin back to Scaife. This fellow, Rick Kelly, car 15 HSV dealer team entry, is down in 9th. Ambrose, Lowndes, Scaife, Todd Kelly, Paul Dumbrell, McConville, Wheel, Wilson, Rick Kelly, Paul Radisich. That's the top 10. There's Paul on screen.
Been encouraging for him, hasn't it, after being in the top 10 in all of the early sessions, practice and in qualifying, made the top 10 shootout. His race went sideways yesterday, but today he's just solid coming through the field.
From behind, he should catch you somewhere halfway through the last lap or something like that. The front keeps up a good pace.
Voice of Paul Sepranich, engineer for Paul Radisich. Brighton's charging through the field. That's the reason they're warning Paul. He's doing quick lap speed too with those 4 new tyres. 24.8 last lap for Brighton versus 26.5 for Radisich, who's stumbling home on depleted tyres on a difficult racetrack. And physically at this point, most of these guys are beginning to really hurt. In fact, they will have been that way for a while. You can't rehydrate quickly enough. As Scaife gets in contact now with Lowndes, you can keep on drawing water from your bottle, but it never makes up for what you lose on the way. Inside the cabin, it's roaring hot. Some of them are using cool suits. Their hands will be blistered. And Lowndes looks to be staggering a little bit here. It looks like it's losing a little bit of rear tyre grip.
This has got Scaife all wound up. We've only got 3 laps to go.
Have a drink.
He's got the lights on. One light, in fact. The other one's been punched out on Scaife's car. Old teammates and mates, adversaries. Huge amount of respect for each other, but they race fiercely, these two.
And Scaife has got the eyes on now. He's got a taste for second place. He's almost done the last to first trick, which he's done before here on the streets of Adelaide. He's gone from last to a podium, and maybe even second.
It is a brilliant performance from Mark Scaife, and I was astonished how quickly he was able to achieve that early in the race. And so they've got a good car. He's worked very hard at it today, and they've had a brutal weekend recovering from that damage that was done when he touched the tyres at the apex of turn 11, damaged the steering tie rod. Scaife looking for cool air. So he's been tucked up under the back of Lowndes, and that's obviously hurting the water temperature and probably lifting the brake temperatures as well, which makes the brakes less effective. Lowndes a little defensive at turn 9. So they lost the car almost in that incident on Friday when he ended up crashing into the concrete wall at turn 12 as Tom Walkinshaw and Jeff Grech look on.
I've never been asked a question more than did Craig Lowndes leave Ford Performance Racing at the wrong time with their solid results at the end of last year. Well, this is the first round that counts. Melbourne did it.
Oh, Lowndes makes a mistake. Sorry, Lee. He just got crossed up right in the middle of turn 13. I apologise.
And Lowndes has got 2 podiums this weekend. So the question that can be answered, no, it looks like he didn't leave, and he's in trouble.
Lowndes is in trouble. He's fully grip limited here. He's out of grip, and he's making mistakes. He climbed over the top of the traffic island at 2. He's driving down the gutter at 4. Scaife's onto him. He'll try and crisscross. They're coming up onto the back of a Brightech car. Now they're at turn 5. They'll be bottled up here for a moment behind the other car. Scaife will try and crisscross on the exit of 5 and 6. This is 6. Hasn't got enough speed to do it. 7. Patience with the throttle here. He'll sweat on the back of Lowndes, try and force him into mistake. There are very few drivers with the car control of Craig Lowndes. Scaife looks for fresh air for a moment.
Stone Brothers power plant in the better electrical Ford. 1.5 laps to go. Can Scaife do it? Tries a different line as Lowndes takes the defensive entry into turn 9. Mark's just trying to unsettle him.
If he could round him up there, he could crisscross, but Craig's a wake-up. These two have played this game many times before. Turn 11, where there's been trouble all weekend. That was the tyre bundle that Scaife hit on Friday. Loses a bit of ground there.
This is not for the victory. It is for a podium spot, but it's for more championship points. And that's what counts. This is where Scaife almost got him last time, and they will have one lap to go. Scaife sideways.
And it's for pride. It's for pride. These blokes are racers. The Ford fans are up. The Holden fans are up. Lowndes is having a bit of trouble in the mid-corner with understeer. Scaife's got it all bagged up and sliding sideways with oversteer off the corners. And the gap last time through was just 0.6. However, first to second is 8.3 seconds, Ambrose to Lowndes.
We haven't seen this much over the years since Craig went to Ford, but it's great to be seeing it. Lowndes v Scaife, it's just great to say it, and you're seeing it on the last lap. And Lowndes may just have enough to get there.
Yeah, Scaife's big bag up off turn 13 lost him a lot of ground. And Craig's just easing away, climbs, straddles that exit ripple strip at turn 7. He's put about 40 to 50 metres in it now. He might have taken the pressure off with half a lap to run.
Ambrose, brilliant. 8.5 seconds in front of these guys, and he will cruise to another victory. But it's all been for the minor placings, hasn't it?
And Mark knows that given the disasters that unfolded too many times last year, no sense in fencing it. Get home, get some points, get the job done. And it's a case of live to fight another day. But Ambrose, the weekend belongs to him.
The number 1 Pertec Falcon onto the main straight. The Ford fans are up. Ambrose, awesome in Adelaide. Simple as that. 2 from 2. He's won the last 2 years straight. And Craig Lowndes gets there for Team Better Electrical. Good work, Lowndes. Second overall of the round. And Mark Scaife from last to third. Sensational performance.
Then he was better off, so
and Todd Kelly, well done. He'll pick up 4th. And a sensational effort too from Paul Dumbrell, 5th place. Just sneaks home ahead of Cam McConville. And Max Wilson, 27th to 6th to 7th. But there's your man, the Devil Racer. The steamroller continues, and Lowndes completes yet another Ford 1-2.
Now, they are the championship points. You might recall I said earlier, Todd Kelly not on the podium for this race, but the 3rd highest point scorer this weekend. And Stephen Johnson, even though he fell down a little bit today, still managed to pick up 141 points, as did Paul Wheel, one of the silent achievers this weekend. And Russell Ingall would have been a lot higher up that list if he had been able to maintain track position today for all his problems. And Scaife lifting himself onto the podium meant that he could take away 90 points from this round. Who knows, he may well drop it after the first 10 in 2005, but it could be very important to have in the bank as we celebrate a wonderful start to the championship.